I have yet to see a single example of Angel Reese being a leader. Outside of rebounding her own missed layups, what does Angel Reese do? What is her contribution? You tell me, because I'm not seeing it. I know I'm harsh on Angel Reese, but she considers herself a star. If you're going to call yourself a star, I expect you to perform like a star, especially in big moments. Caitlin Clark was injured. Angel Reese was the only star on the court last night, and for 27 minutes, she completely disappeared.
Under the brightest lights in the biggest arena, Angel Reese vanished. With 19,000 fans packed into the United Center and national CBS audience tuned in for what was billed as a historic WNBA showcase, Reese delivered what many are now calling the most humiliating performance of her career. She wasn't just outplayed, she was exposed. And the most shocking part? Caitlin Clark didn't even suit up. No Clark, no Sophie Cunningham, no head coach Stephanie White. And yet, the Indiana Fever dismantled the Chicago Sky by 27 points while Reese managed just 4 points on 2 of 7 shooting in 27 minutes. The woman marketed as Clark's equal was left speechless, ineffective, and visibly frustrated. As this narrative continues to spiral out of control, a harsh reality is settling in. The WNBA might have tried to sell a rivalry that simply doesn't exist. For those keeping score, this wasn't just a bad game. This was a career-defining moment that could reshape how the public views Reese moving forward. If the idea of Caitlin Clark returning to finish what her teammates started excites any part of the basketball world, comment "Fire the Baby Giraffe" down below, smash that like button, and subscribe for unfiltered coverage of the league's most explosive drama.
Well, there's a lot of reaction coming in from last night's drubbing, destruction, annihilation, cremation, whatever you want to call it, roasting, sauteed, whatever your form of cooking may be. But the Indiana Fever absolutely dismantled the Chicago Sky.
In what was promoted as a landmark moment for both the WNBA and Angel Reese, the national spotlight turned into a magnifying glass, exposing cracks far too large to ignore. With Caitlin Clark sidelined due to a quad injury, Reese had the opportunity to silence critics, step into the spotlight, and prove she was more than a secondary figure in this new era of women's basketball. Instead, she delivered just 4 points in 27 minutes on primetime television. The Indiana Fever, missing not only Clark but also Sophie Cunningham and head coach Stephanie White, still overwhelmed the Chicago Sky by a staggering 27 points. The scene was set at the United Center, the largest arena in the NBA, with over 19,000 fans in attendance and millions more watching on CBS. This game marked one of the rare occasions where the WNBA was granted a Saturday night primetime broadcast and expectations were sky high. However, Reese failed to rise to the moment. Her performance, described by analysts as a disaster class, unfolded slowly and painfully. Missed layups, poor decisions, visible frustration, and a complete inability to impact the game painted a harsh picture. Cameras captured every grimace and shake of the head, while commentators were left speechless at her inability to lead. This wasn't just a disappointing stat line. It was a high-definition collapse broadcast to a national audience, a performance that raised far more questions than it answered about Reese's readiness for the spotlight.
Angel Reese is now quoted as saying, "I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we're watching women's basketball is not just because of one person." She refuses to say Caitlin Clark's name. "It's because of me too, and I want you to realize that."
Before a single shot was taken, the market had already spoken. The moment Caitlin Clark was officially ruled out due to injury, ticket prices for the United Center clash plummeted with stunning speed. What began as a highly anticipated showdown between the league's most talked-about rookies quickly devolved into a clearance event. Tickets that had been selling at premium levels, some commanding upwards of $150, dropped to an astonishing $3 on the secondary market. That's less than the cost of a gas station candy bar, and the optics were devastating. Images of ticket listings flooded social media, accompanied by laughing emojis and sarcastic jokes about how families could attend the game for less than the price of parking. What was supposed to be a celebration of Angel Reese's star power had turned into a referendum on her box office value without Clark's gravitational pull.
Last night was somewhat of a big moment for Angel Reese and the Chicago Bravado. For starters, the WNBA moved the game out of the local dump the Bravado usually play in and relocated to the United Center, which is the largest arena in the NBA, holding over 20,000 people. Now, to their credit, there seemed to be a good crowd in the United Center last night. I had someone who was at the game send me a few pictures, and most sections seemed to be filled. It wasn't a sellout, but there was supposedly over 19,000 people in attendance. Of course, it's easier to draw a decent crowd when tickets are selling for $3 hours before the game starts.
The Chicago Sky's front office had spent months promoting Reese as a standalone draw, a force capable of selling seats and leading a new generation of fans. But when push came to shove, the empty sections and rock-bottom prices told a different story. The arena may have eventually filled thanks to last-minute purchases, but the financial collapse in ticket demand was a direct indictment of the Reese hype machine. The feverish interest vanished the moment Clark wasn't involved, highlighting a hard truth. Angel Reese alone is not moving the needle the way the league hoped.
Oof, what an outfit Angel Reese was rocking. She put a lot of time, a lot of effort into making sure her ensemble was on point. Are my boots matching my jacket? Are my gloves matching my hat? Angel Reese put in tons of time for this outfit, which begs the question, does Angel Reese put in more time in her outfits for the pre-game catwalk, or does she put in more time to actually get better at the game of basketball?
In the hours leading up to tip-off, Angel Reese's social media presence was in full force. Photos of her meticulously styled outfit flooded timelines, coordinated boots, designer gloves, an elaborate jacket and hat combo, all crafted for maximum visual impact. But as soon as the game started, that carefully curated image clashed harshly with what unfolded on the court. Fans online quickly seized on the irony. Side-by-side memes comparing her flashy pre-game ensemble with her dismal 4-point performance began circulating before the final buzzer even sounded. Some fans joked that she spent more time picking an outfit than preparing for the actual game. Others questioned if her priorities were now fully skewed toward fashion and branding rather than basketball fundamentals.
Folks, there were people in the crowd getting there early saying, "Hey, Caitlin, can you sign my jersey? Hey, Aaliyah, can you sign my shirt? Hey, Sophie, can you sign my picture?" There were people asking for autographs in the Chicago Sky crowd that weren't even born yet the last time the Chicago Sky scored this little amount of points. There were people in the crowd who weren't even a thought in their parents' minds at the time that the Chicago Sky last scored at least 52 points, the lowest point total since 2011.
The critique wasn't just about vanity, it was about substance. In a sport where perception matters, Reese's off-court presentation continues to outpace her on-court results, and fans noticed. The contrast became impossible to ignore. Reese strutted into the United Center, looking like a celebrity, but played like a role player out of her depth.
Angel Reese, part 38, let's get it!
Life throws her lemons, she makes bricks.
Bang!
PSA to anyone watching, she is right-handed. Right-handed, by the way. She missed the rim by 3 feet, man.
Bang!
I gotta say, this is my favorite summer sitcom. Pecan?
Butter pecan! Bang!
Here's a stat. She's been blocked 20 times, and she's only made 21 hoops.
What?
The ridicule was swift and relentless. The same platforms that once elevated her now turned on her, with posts mocking missed layups, awkward turnovers, and blank stares during dead balls. Instead of trending for dominance or leadership, Reese was trending for underperformance. What was supposed to be a moment of validation became a viral moment of embarrassment, and the internet never forgets. The humiliation at the United Center wasn't an isolated incident. It was just the latest chapter in what has become a troubling, one-sided rivalry between Angel Reese and the Indiana Fever. On May 17th, the Fever obliterated the Sky in a 93-58 beatdown at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, handing Reese her worst loss as a professional up to that point. That game wasn't just a bad outing, it was a warning sign. And when the two teams met again on June 7th, the results were nearly identical. Another blowout, another disappearing act by Reese. 2 games, 2 humiliating losses, a combined minus 62-point differential. Both times, the common thread has been Reese's inability to rise to the occasion.
Matter of fact, This might have been the first WNBA game broadcast on CBS in prime time. If it's not the first, it's one of very few. This was a big moment. I'm sure the WNBA would call it historic. Angel Reese is playing in an NBA arena in prime time on network television on Saturday night. Outside of regular season baseball, maybe the College World Series, there was no competition on television. The eyes of the sports world were focused on Angel Reese and the WNBA. And Angel Reese once again proved why no one is watching her.
In the main matchup, she attempted to impose herself physically on Caitlin Clark, initiating contact, barking through possessions, and trying to establish psychological dominance. None of it worked. Indiana remained unbothered and methodical, and Reese's tactics only drew criticism. The June game followed the same script, except this time Clark wasn't even on the floor. Yet the outcome didn't change. Without Indiana's star rookie, without Sophie Cunningham, and without head coach Stephanie White, the Fever still outclassed the Sky in every category. That fact magnified Reese's failures. What was once dismissed as a rough night in May has now become a deeply concerning pattern. Every time Reese faces the Fever, her confidence appears to fracture, her aggression backfires, and her stat line becomes fuel for online mockery. A rivalry can't exist if only one side keeps showing up, and so far, Indiana owns every chapter. The numbers from Angel Reese's June 7th performance are not just underwhelming, they are damning. For points, 2 of 7 shooting, no three-point attempts, a minus 23+ minus rating in 27 minutes of action. And yet, the raw stats only scratch the surface of how bad things looked in real time. Her missed layups weren't just routine errors, they were point-blank opportunities, clanging off the rim, while the crowd groaned in disbelief. One attempt didn't even draw iron, missing the rim by nearly 3 feet, a moment so visibly jarring that it instantly went viral. Cameras zoomed in on her face as frustration built with each empty possession, revealing a player overwhelmed by the moment.
Another diabolical stat. She's 19 of 59 from less than 5 feet away. How about that, man? Bang! She should work in housekeeping for hotels because she can turn it over quickly. Lost by 27, scored only 4 points against the Indiana Fever. I mentioned no Caitlin Clark, no problem, give and go. Like a given no shot of working. Bang!
You prefer car or plane?
Car or plane for what?
For how you want to travel! That's too many steps, and you can't do that.
But this isn't just about one bad night. It's a continuation of a season-long struggle. Reese has been blocked 20 times, and she's made just 21 total field goals. That's nearly a 1-to-1 ratio between successful makes and complete rejections. Even more concerning is her conversion rate from within 5 feet of the basket. A player known for dominating the paint in college is now shooting just 32% from that range in the pros, a figure shockingly low for any post player, let alone one billed as a rising star.
Caitlin Clark is averaging more assists per game than Angel Reese is averaging points per game this season. Yeah. 9.3 points per assist per game, 9.3 assists per game. Let me just bring it up to 9.1 points per game.
Adding salt to the wound, Caitlin Clark, a guard, is currently averaging more assists per game than Reese is averaging points. The statistical gap between what was promised and what has been delivered is growing too large to ignore. These aren't just bad games, they're career-shaping numbers that paint a picture of a player not ready for the moment.
Oof. What an outfit Angel Reese was rocking. She put a lot of time, a lot of effort into making sure her ensemble was on point. Are my boots matching my jacket? Are my gloves matching my hat? Angel Reese put in tons of time for this outfit, which begs the question, does Angel Reese put in more time in her outfits for the pregame catwalk, or does she put in more time to actually get better at the game of basketball?
While all eyes were on Angel Reese's downfall, the Indiana Fever quietly delivered one of the most complete and commanding team performances of the WNBA season, and they did it without Caitlin Clark.
Unfortunately, Angel Reese brought her outfit and left her game at home. She brought the nice hat, she brought the nice boots, she brought the nice jacket, she brought the nice gloves, but unfortunately, she left her game at home. 4 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists in 27 minutes of action, a minus 23 turnovers as the Chicago Sky, without Caitlin Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, without Stephanie White.
Kelsey Mitchell took the reins with the poise of a seasoned leader, pouring in 17 points on an efficient 5 of 11 shooting night, while also contributing 5 rebounds and 2 assists. Her control of the game's tempo never wavered, and her shot-making punished Chicago every time they left her space.
This time steps right through the heart of the defense and blows by Chicago. The winds off of Lake Michigan. Loses Atkins, step back mini, knocks it down. Oh, the connection to Howard. How about the finish from Mitchell?
And she may be the quickest guard in the league with the ball in her hands.
But the real revelation came off the bench. Aari McDonald, signed to a temporary hardship contract, erupted for 12 points, including 3 made 3-pointers and added 4 steals. In limited minutes, she exposed Chicago's sloppy ball handling and carved up their defensive rotations like a player who had been with the team all year. Her energy was electric, her decision-making crisp, and her impact immediate.
But both teams facing a little bit of adversity, having certain players out or not at full capacity.
McDonald, a huge triple in the corner. Mitchell, patient in the corner, flips it up top. Boston, other side. McDonald, another 3. I'm loving it.
Lexie Hull joined the celebration by surpassing 500 career points, a milestone that added another layer to the Knights' dominance. With every substitution and possession, Indiana displayed depth, chemistry, and discipline. They moved the ball with purpose, cut through Chicago's defense like it wasn't there, and never once looked like a team missing its biggest star. 20 assists on 27 made shots told the story of a unit playing for each other, not for the cameras. The scoreboard reflected more than just talent. It reflected preparation, trust, and belief in the system. For a team supposedly built around one player, Indiana is making a loud statement that they're far more dangerous than anyone expected, even without Caitlin Clark on the floor.
No Caitlin Clark, no problem. No Sophie Cunningham, no problem. No head coach Stephanie White, have no fear. The final boss, Austin Kelly, is here. The Chicago Sky, we came into your building and we just, from pillar to post, smacked you guys around.
With head coach Stephanie White unavailable, assistant Austin Kelly stepped in, and the result was nothing short of a coaching clinic. Under immense pressure and in a nationally televised setting, Kelly kept Indiana focused, aggressive, and unfazed. The Fever played with a cohesiveness that suggested nothing was missing. From the opening tip, the defensive intensity was suffocating. Chicago's starters shot a dismal 8 for 29 from a field as Indiana disrupted passing lanes, closed out on shooters with discipline, and shut down driving angles. By the final whistle, the Sky had posted just 52 points, their lowest output since 2011. The message was clear. The Fever didn't just play harder, they played smarter. Post-game, Kelly credited the team's effort and execution, pointing out how Indiana took away Chicago's strengths with relentless defensive rotations and full-court pressure. Our best defense, he said, starts with our offense clicking.
Great job. All right, great job.
Thanks, Daddy.
It started for us on the defensive end. We set the tone from the jump and never looked back. All right. Their starters, 8 for 29 from the field. Hell of a job. Great attention to detail. That's less than 30%. We held them 32% for the game.
That philosophy came to life through the Fever's sharp ball movement and transition execution, which kept Chicago on its heels throughout the night. From trapping Angel Reese on the block to forcing bad decisions on the perimeter, Indiana's attention to detail showed a team mentally sharper and strategically prepared. Kelly's post-game huddle emphasized how the team had stacked great possessions and stayed locked in for 4 quarters. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement that the Fever system works regardless of who's on the floor.
All right, great job there. All right, we won the boards. All right, and they're a second chance points team. All right, and we won that area as well. Taking away their strengths was something that we did a great job of. All right,
just extremely proud of y'all. We stayed locked in, we stayed together, we executed the scout at a very high level. Just multiple levels of effort. Everything that we've asked of you today, we put it in there, and from now, again, stacking days, building on those moments where we're stringing those possessions together, right? Building on those great possessions on defense and on offense. Great, hell of a job, y'all. High level.
When a team can lose its head coach and its superstar and still dominate on both ends, it signals something deeper than raw talent. It signals a culture, one that Kelly upheld flawlessly. Angel Reese's image has become a cornerstone of her rise. The pre-game struts in designer fits, the confident soundbites on podcasts, the viral social media presence. But as the gap between her brand and her on-court production grows wider, a harsh reality is beginning to set in. The spotlight may have arrived faster than her game could follow.
That clock is winding down. You got to close out with the hand up. Her hands were down, and Howard knocked it down, and that is a travel.
Reese drags the pivot foot, gives the ball back to Indiana. 8 to shoot. Boston this time, working against Reese. Pivots, puts it up.
There's a moment.
The WNBA has leaned into marketing her as a cultural icon, someone who could rival Caitlin Clark's influence. But the June 7th disaster at the United Center pulled the curtain back. Without Clark in the arena, Reese had the full stage to herself, and the performance didn't just fall short, it cratered. For a player marketed as box office, the outcome was damning. The product didn't match the promotion. Social media, once her strongest ally, flipped with ruthless efficiency. Mockery replaced admiration, and highlight reels became blooper compilations. Her fans pointed to pressure and unfair expectations, but the numbers were irrefutable. 4 points, missed layups, a travel violation in crunch time, visible confusion during defensive assignments. And all of it played out live on CBS during one of the most important WNBA broadcasts in years. The moment called for leadership. Instead, the narrative unraveled. Reese has excelled at cultivating attention off the court, but professional basketball, especially at this level, demands substance to go with the style. And so far, the results have painted a picture of a player more concerned with image than impact. That might be tolerable in other industries, but on a national sports stage, it only accelerates scrutiny. The WNBA didn't just hand her an opportunity, it handed her the microphone. What she does with it next will define more than her brand. It may decide her legacy. The June 7th matchup between the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky was more than just a regular season game. It was a referendum on media narratives, on manufactured rivalries, and on what truly moves the needle in women's basketball. With Caitlin Clark absent, the WNBA placed its faith in Angel Reese to carry the spotlight. But instead of rising to the occasion, Reese crumbled under it. What unfolded wasn't just a poor individual performance, it was a complete dismantling of the myth that she could stand shoulder to shoulder with the league's rising face. The numbers told one story, the body language told another, the fans told the rest. Empty seats, plummeting ticket prices, social media laughter, all signs of a public no longer buying into the illusion. Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever delivered one of the most balanced and ruthless beatdowns of the season without their 3 biggest pieces. Their dominance proved something far more important. The team is not just the Caitlin Clark show. It's a well-constructed, well-coached, and fearlessly unified squad with legitimate championship aspirations. This was supposed to be Angel Reese's moment. Instead, it became a cautionary tale about hype without production, about branding without backing. And with Clark set to be re-evaluated on June 9th, the timing could not be more ominous. A return is near, and this time, the Fever won't need her to destroy their rivals. But when she does come back, the scoreboard may look even worse for those still pretending there's a rivalry. For those waiting to see how far Caitlin Clark can take this Indiana Fever team once she returns, drop a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe. This league's narrative is shifting fast. Don't miss what happens next.